Swings it over to Moody. He'll drive on Lillard. Back up top to Draymond. Top of the key three. That's his first fourth quarter three of the year, and it makes it 107-85.
How about that? One more little thrust, and that may force Doc to pull the plug here in the next couple minutes.
Draymond, corner three this time. Oh. Knocked it down. He knew it was good. He started jogging back on defense.
Bay Area is Draymond Green, and you're listening to Willard and Dibs on 95.7 The Game.
I think we need to call timeout.
Totally.
We got to call timeout. It's not going well right now. Did you see Doc Rivers before the game? Before the game, Doc Rivers. I saw a comment and I go, oh, if I hadn't already put money on this game, I'd grab a bucket full more of cash and put it on the Warriors.
Yeah?
He set up the loss before it even happened. He knew. Doc Rivers said something along the lines of, look, we're going against the Warriors. Their last game was about 800 days ago. Doc, they had 2 days off.
Relax.
They had 2 days off. And that was following a road trip that went to Tarmac and north of the border. Let's stop acting like the Warriors are the most rested team in the history of ever. When he said that, I knew Buck's mindset, wrong spot. Or, as I said, situationally, Doc knew this one is not set up for us. And that's the only reason that we sounded like we sounded yesterday. It wasn't set up for the Bucks. Therefore, you got to go get it. And they did, and they did it in a big way. And so I find today, I don't know if it was the biggest win of the year, most impressive win of the year. You can label it. I think that this morning into this afternoon where we sit now, would you agree with me? This is the most comfortable and confident that the fan base has been all year long. Today.
Yeah.
Today.
Just about. I mean, I'm remembering, I guess not the 3-1 road trip, but didn't they have another stretch earlier in this calendar year where they started to really hum and we all were thinking, okay, here come the Warriors. And then they had a skid back. Maybe it's the five-game win streak.
But what was that? Their record was then what?
Not great. Yeah. They were, at that point, 16-14? Yeah, 15-14. So you're probably right.
I think it's today.
Yeah, where they are in relation to 500, who they beat, how they beat them, and the fact that everybody is now back together. You got the full squad, #full squad. You're probably right. This is the best you felt.
Yeah. I mean, I see the other spot that you're looking at. It was a 5-game win streak, and in the middle of it, you beat Boston in overtime at home. That was the third of the 5 games.
Yeah.
And I remember that day, came in here Wednesday, December 20th, and went, the Warriors finally have a signature win. And there's no doubt about that. But your other 4 games were 2 of them against Portland, 1 of them was against Washington.
Yep.
And then you also beat Brooklyn by 4. So, I look at that time versus this time. Also, where are we on the calendar? You can start to smell the playoffs right around the corner. Month away. This season is going to be over, and now you're dancing. You're still in the play-in tournament, but you're moving up the board. You're starting to move up the board a little bit into the 9th spot. You're only a half game out of the 8th spot, and you just hung it on the Bucks, and you've won. Well, I mean, I know we could go all the way back. What is it, 14-4 in the last 18, et cetera, et cetera. Like, you've put a lengthy, consistent run together, and now you have your most lopsided win against a good team all year. I'm comfortable saying that. I think, by and large, the fan base has never felt better than today.
Yeah, and you are 5 games over 500 for the first time this year. You went in, obviously, 4 games above 500. The last time you were 4 above was when you beat OKC in the in-season tournament to get to 5-1. Since then, you have not been 4 games above 500. So now
crazy.
You're at a season high 5 above. You beat a good Milwaukee team, even though Giannis was, I would say, somewhat limited. He wasn't at 100%. And the Warriors had their full squad, and you did it at home, and you haven't had a lot of great feel-good home games. So, yeah. And you start to look ahead at what you have starting tonight with a Chicago team coming off a game last night as well. You feel like this is one you should win. You'll be favored on Saturday against San Antonio, favored Monday at San Antonio. Then you get to next Wednesday at Dallas.
At Dallas.
Not to look past any of these next three, and I'm not going to do that, but you start to look at other markers on the schedule. At Dallas next Wednesday, at LA on Saturday, where you'll have, again, 2 days off between Dallas and LA, which for an older team, that to me, Mark, is crucial.
Well, a team that has led the league in back-to-backs now has a road trip where there are no back-to-backs. You're also not going that far. I understand you got the Texas two-step, but you're not going to the East Coast. And you're right, that's 3 games in the whole week. So you're going to go day off, road game, day off, road game, 2 days off, road game, day off, and then come back for a homestand against very beatable teams, Knicks, Memphis, Indiana. I look at that whole stretch of games, and that covers the next 2 weeks, and I don't see more than a couple losses at worst.
Yeah.
At worst. And that's got to kind of be the cadence going forward if they're going to move up the board, because you detailed this yesterday. You know, they go on this lengthy stretch of winning basketball games, and they went from the 12th seed all the way up to the 10.
Right.
It's really hard. It's really hard.
You are the 9 now.
Yep. And you got all these Dallas games. That game next Wednesday is setting up to be a biggie.
Yeah.
That's a biggie now.
Yeah.
And I don't mean for measuring stick reasons. I mean for Steve Kerr's favorite reasons, math.
Right.
That's a math game.
Well, and if you can get to the 8 and you're a half game back at Dallas right now for that 8 seed, then you've got a little bit of a cushion in the play-in tournament. You can lose the 7-8 and still be alive for a possible playoff berth. If you lose the 9-10 game, then it's a complete night-night. And, you know, Sacramento is a team that they're not in a complete free fall, but they're showing increased vulnerability more and more. And Phoenix at the 6, you're 2.5 back of Phoenix. And, Mark, I look at this Phoenix team, and I am puzzled by the fact that they continue to kind of flounder
all year.
And I know they haven't had Beal, which hurts them, but even without Bradley Beal, you should be better than where you are.
No doubt. No doubt. Since when is Kevin Durant and Devin Booker not a good enough
right?
1-2 part? What the hell is going on? I don't know. I like that. That one is a little bit of a head scratcher to me. But anyway, this just got put up on YouTube. Luke, did it go up on Twitter as well? Yeah,
it's on its way.
On its way. Okay, so here's the question, and it's piggybacking on the statement I just made. If you're a Warrior fan, are you more confident in the Warriors now than at any other moment earlier in the season? We're just a handful of votes in, but the early trending, the early returns, Dibs. Maybe this is only in the northern counties, but the early returns, 87% say yes. This is the most confident you've been as a fan all year long in Warrior basketball.
You should be the most confident that you've been all year because they played great. They are now healthy, and they're at the high water mark for the season with them being 5 games above 500. So it stands to reason that you would be the most confident that you've been, and especially when you talk about that run they've been on. It was just about, a little more than a month ago when they lost to the Lakers in double overtime to fall to 19-24, and you could see the frustration on Steph Curry's face losing that game at home against LA, and since then you've won 14 of 18. So they have been rolling, and there haven't really been any hiccups. You lost to Denver, really good team, defending champ. You lost to the Clippers. I guess that was a hiccup because you blew that lead. And you blew it. And Boston ran you off the court in what I'd like to call a scheduled loss, but other than that, you've been pretty impeccable. The Atlanta loss is a weird one. Overtime on the road, stuff happens.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here looking at Dallas' schedule over the next 2 weeks and kind of where that sits.
Mm-hmm.
They play the Heat tonight. That's an interesting one because Dallas has been struggling now. Dallas has lost 5 of their last 6 basketball games. They're at home, but Miami is in town tonight. Then they've got a little bit of a cupy-cakey road trip, just a 2-gamer. They go to Detroit and Chicago, and that leads to the Warriors game on Wednesday night where both of them will be coming off of a night off. But look what that leads into. Right after the Warriors, the next night they have to hit the road for a back-to-back, a home and road back-to-back, and they go to Oklahoma City. Then they get a couple of days off, and Denver comes to town. So there are some potential losses in there for the Mavericks, and I do think that by the time we get to next weekend, the Warriors have every opportunity in the world to be the 8 seed.
Yeah, and you look at just that fact in the teams that they're going to have to contend with over the course of games and the back-to-back, and OKC and Denver, teams that are obviously playing for a lot right now, grinding toward not only being a top 4, but maybe being that number 1 seed, with Minnesota having to deal with injury.
By the way, good YouTube watcher who's there a lot, and we thank you very much for it. Sammy K hit me with this when we were just talking about the poll that went up. Are you, as a Warrior fan, more confident than at any other point earlier in the season? He says, Willard, that does not mean that we're confident of a title. Yeah, and neither am I. I didn't say that. Like, just leave it at what it is. Are you more confident? You can answer the question in terms of confident in what? And I don't know how I can only answer that for me. Confident in what? Here's how I would answer it. I am more confident today than at any other point in the season that the Warriors can be a playoff noisemaker. That's the phrase that I've used for a while. Again, I still hesitate to do any sort of getting ahead. All of this is predicated on a bunch of other things, starting with health. The Minnesota Timberwolves just lost Cat for a while. This can all change in an instant, the whole outlook of everything. But the Warriors last night, one of the first times, if not the first time, all year long that they were in full health and everybody was available. And even though not everybody was great, Wiggins didn't do a whole lot, they came out and had what I think was as impressive of a performance as they've had all year long. That's not an accident. This was a little bit of, hey, world, this is who we can be. I'm not yet going to say this is who we are. That's like the golfer who every time he slices one is like, well, let me do that again. That's not me. No, that is you. That is you. If you hit 1 out of every 2 shots well, then that's who you are. So you got to go chase that stupid one that's the 50% of your shots. You got to go get it. It's in the woods. Go get it and hit it out. The Warriors are not who they were last night. That's who they can be. That's in their bag. And yes, that should be a little bit concerning for other teams in the West, especially those who've not really done it before. So I think all that's fair. That's fair. But we got a long way to go. Last night was simply, hey, this opportunity's there for you. You should get it, and they did, so that's great.
Well, and also, you make a good point about this is who you can be, and this is who you need to be, and the calendar says March, and the playoffs start in April. So if you're going to be this team, it would be better that you're this team now as opposed to in November, and then you get to March and April and you don't play well. So they're trending in the right direction. They've won 14 of 18. You had a great signature win against a really good Milwaukee team, and it feels like you're building some momentum. And the thing about, your young players, even though Steve Kerr and company, they don't develop young players, Mark. And then you look at TJD.
Never have, never will.
Right. And you look at this team.
They hate them.
And you've got Pods in the starting lineup.
Yeah.
TJD with 4 blocks. Jonathan Kuminga, who is legitimately your number 2 option. And all 3 of those guys are under the age of 23. A couple of them are precocious youngsters. And then another youngster, Moses Moody, comes off the bench and plays great. So I don't want to say 2 timelines, but it feels like this team now is comprised of 2 different groups of people, and they're all playing well.
You know what I think also last night does, and by the way, you're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco, always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Upgrade your savings dividend. Open a First NorCal first-class money market today. Sometimes people need an invitation to go to the party. Other people are like, I'm coming, right? They don't even wait. Party crashers, wedding crashers. So if you need an invitation to the party, I think last night was it. That's kind of what it was. Like, you are now invited to get excited about Warrior basketball down the stretch. Some of you didn't need last night, but I think some of you did. And I kind of did. You know what I mean? Some of you, your minds for a while now have already been on next year. Oh, this is a goose chase. Hand the reins over to Moody. Get Wiggins out of there. We'll trade him in the offseason. This isn't it. Get rid of Clay. Come on, Kuminga. Let's do the whole future thing. And I get that. I don't think that's a crazy take. But last night for me, it was a full-blown invitation sent out to the fan base that says, just join us for this year. And we're going to do some things. I don't know if they're going to be great things or even good things, but like you have a license. You got a license to, go ahead and say it. You got a license to get ill on this one because you're not taking crazy pills if you do.
I think the invitation is just, get on board with whatever this is going to be. And the Warriors are showing you that when they can play like that, they are a team that nobody wants to face in the playoffs. And that's the biggest problem this year has been through 61 games, 33 wins, 28 losses. They don't have a lot of those games. If you think about how they played last night, you could look at maybe 12 to 15 times this year where they played that well. And a lot of those 12 to 15 were against the bottom feeders where you could have gotten by with your B-level game or even your C-level game. Team like Milwaukee, you need to bring your A game, and they had their A game last night. And the question begs, and we don't have to answer it now, but if you get into a series against Minnesota, OKC, LA, Denver, the other LA, can you bring that A game more than once out of every 7 times? Because if you don't, then you're getting bounced.
No doubt. Guess who's on the line is Drew Down in Tracy. Hey, Drew. What's cooking, man?
Hey, what's going on, Willard? What's up, dude? It's been a long time, man. Happy New Year. Happy Valentine's Day. I know it's been a while, so I want to make sure. Happy President's Day. Make sure I touch on all the major holidays for you that I missed. But a great win for the Warriors last night. I don't put a lot of stock in the fact that, like, they haven't beat a lot of good teams, blah, blah, blah. I feel like for a younger team that matters. You got to kind of prove yourself and show that you can beat those upper echelon teams. For the Warriors, I don't really think that. I mean, maybe they don't have a lot of signature wins, but for me, I'm not so concerned about, beating quote unquote great teams. I'm more concerned with about how they're playing. And I feel like over the last, ever since, RIP to Decky, ever since they came back from that, I feel like the way this team's been playing is they've been playing really good ball. Really, everyone's buying in, even with Clay going to the bench. I feel like everyone's buying in, and this team's playing very well. I don't know where they're going to end up, but for me, I don't look at it that way. I'm not concerned about where they're going to end up. I just want to watch this team play good ball and string together, weeks, of good basketball. And they've done that for the last couple of weeks, 3 weeks. So, the win last night was amazing, but if they come out and fall flat against Chicago tonight, then the win last night is all for naught, right?
Yeah, totally.
So I don't want to get caught up in where they're going to finish, and how far they can go. Oh, they're not a championship team. To me, it's like I don't like to talk in absolutes. I love the way this team's been playing. I love the way TJD's been playing. Kuminga, Wiggins obviously was a little rusty, but he's getting back into the fold, play off the bench. This team's fully healthy. I think they got a chance to make some noise, but I don't want to put a cap or a ceiling or a floor on this team. It's like let's see them continue to play well and string wins together, and then when it comes down to the nitty gritty, this team has they have the gravitas, they have the rings, they have the experience. So are they going to make a big run? I don't know, but I like the way they've been playing. Let's just continue to play consistent basketball, keep stacking wins, and put themselves in a position to make some noise in the playoffs. I like the way they're playing right now, and I'm excited to see the rest of the season. Thanks, guys.
Drew, thank you. I actually agree completely with Drew. This may sound like I'm saying two different things. I'm really not. Last night for me was not about, they need to show that they can do this against a good team. That's not what I mean. Here's what I mean. Situationally, that game set up for the Warriors to win it. Therefore, they should win it. They are, in that situation, clearly the better team. And therefore, I think it's kind of a warning shot negatively if in that moment they came out and played poorly. So that's the way I looked at it. It's not about sending a message or proving or anything or measuring sticks or anything like that for me. It was simply, you got the Bucks at a good time, and a good team takes advantage of that, and they did. So, again, I come away from last night was about as satisfying of an outcome and a performance as they've had all year.
Yeah, and it's because of all those reasons. And they were in a spot where they had the advantage, they had the rest, they had the health advantage, they had the home court advantage. All the advantages were pointed in their direction, and the expectation was to come out and play well and handle Milwaukee. And the way you handled them, and I mentioned it earlier, you beat them twice. You were up 20 at the half. Milwaukee cut it to 6, and then from then to the end of the game, which was, about 16 minutes of basketball, you won by 29. Again, you beat them by 29 points from the last 4 minutes of the third through the fourth quarter. That was a thorough secondary beating of Milwaukee. But Drew is right. If you come out tonight and you give it up and you don't handle your business, well, then last night doesn't matter worth a hill of beans. I mean, yeah, it's still a win, and you split the 2 home games, but you mentioned it before yesterday. You said 3-0 in the homestand.
Yeah.
You kind of talked your way into it. By the end of the show, you were like, you know what?
I got to win
3-0
all 3
homestand.
Yep.
You're going to win all 3. And then we didn't even go much further past that because we're taking it 1 game at a time, but you can kind of squint and see a trip to San Antonio, and well, that should be a win. So now it's 4 in a row, and now you start thinking about 17 and 21.
I'm actually not getting to Monday. I'm not getting to Monday yet.
I know you're not.
Road game, totally
when
different.
When you think about, where they are if they beat Milwaukee, like tonight against Chicago, and as we get closer to Grandy and Warriors Live, yeah, you should win this.
Should win.
The spread tells you should win. You're 8-point favorites.
Right, Saturday, should win.
And
absolutely.
It's the second half of a back-to-back, but it's not the same back-to-back that Chicago has because they played everybody a lot more, and they traveled. So this spot tonight is almost as good as last night's spot.
Richie in Queens is next on Willie and Dibby. Hi, Richie. What you doing?
Hey, guys. How are you?
Good.
Yeah, I was looking at the standings. I really get into the basketball the last 20 games of the season. Got the positioning, and your team has really made a nice run. I think it was a statement game last night. They needed something like that. By the way, Doc Rivers, did he make a mistake getting out of the broadcast booth? I mean, really, this guy is an enigma as a coach. It just made no sense because when they hired him initially, they figured he'd never become a coach again. So they figured that 3. Breen, Doris Burke, and him would stay together. And coming back to the Bucks, I don't know what to make of the Bucks, but that was a nice win, and they're solidifying. They're only 2 games out of the 6th seed, so they're playing well. Now, my team, the Knicks, obviously, with the injuries, we're getting. Adenabi has been cleared for physical contact, so he's day to day. So they're going to get him back. And Brunson, I hope they're not hiding an injury with him. We're falling. You guys are gaining. We probably going to wind up in the 8th seed. I really feel that way at this point with all the injuries and then your playing game, and hopefully, get everybody back, get Randall back. I don't know how strong he's going to be. And you guys, the Kuminga is going to be a great player. Barkley mentioned it. I mean, he needs a lot of, a lot more basketball savvy, but he is got the ability to be a really good player.
He's starting to put some things together. Yeah, Richie, we got to run. Thank you so much. I don't really mean this, but I kind of hope those Knicks don't get all that healthy anytime